Hey guys, it's Heidi. Welcome back to my channel. And yeah, um, I've had an interesting day. Um, Quiet day, but interesting. Getting things done, and I was just sitting thinking, the two things that I was waiting to get done are going to be done this week. By the end of this week, it's finished, it's done. So I'm happy about that. Um, yeah, if there are no complications or issues, should be done by the end of this week. Um, so yeah, I'm happy about that. Um, yeah, I was just listening to. It's not a YouTube thing. I think it's an Instagram thing where this guy was talking. And um, if I can find it, I'm gonna. If I can find this guy's name, I'll put it in the description down below. He's a preacher of some sort, and he normally speaks to young adults. He speaks to everybody, but a lot of the stuff that I've heard is basically focused on young adults. Um, and he is so accurate. So he just explains the scripture so nicely. And today he was speaking about the in laws. Not his in laws, just in laws in general. Um, yeah, and he was saying that uh, if, when people get married, then the in-laws, some of them are actually quite nice, and they say they're not losing a son, but they're gaining a daughter. Well, they're not losing a daughter, but gaining a son. He says, no, that's not how it works. He says, for this reason, and it's biblical, for this reason, a man will leave his mother and father to be united with his wife. Right? Now, it doesn't say that they're going to go stay there with the wife's family either. And I should imagine that, it goes for the woman as well. For this reason, the woman will leave her mom and dad to be united with her husband. And then they start their own family. And then the in laws become the extended family. Right? So your priorities change. Your priorities are now your husband or your wife and then your kids. Um, yeah, that's how it goes. Because then your mom and dad and your siblings and aunties and uncles and cousins and all the rest of it, that's now extended family. So, yeah, anyway. And I found uh, it's like an illustration that I saw somewhere as well about a teacup with a saucer. Hold on, hold on. All right. Yeah, I just had to go get a teacup and what have you. Um, yeah. So basically, um, how this principle works is that our priorities, right? When God blesses us, and it can be with finance, it can be with whatever. Okay. Each of us are different, so yeah, you just figure out what's working in your situation, right? But I'm going to use um, let's just say finance or food. Okay, let's go with food. Okay, because one of these days you can have a bank full of money and not be able to spend it. So, mm, so let's go with food. All right. Um, so when God blesses us with food, for argument's sake, right, and we've got this beautiful pantry filled up with food that we have been working on for years, or maybe just somebody decides to bring us 10 kgs of rice and pocket of potatoes and a pocket of onions and a pocket of oranges and a pocket of this and a pocket of that and all the rest of it. Now, the the biblical principle is I'm going to show you the teacup, right? Can you see that? There we go. All right. So basically, the cup is you, right? So God will supply for you and fill you up. So, yeah, hold on, guys. All right. Okay. So basically, what happens is God blesses you, right? So the teacup is you. He'll bless you with what you need. And then sometimes he'll bless you, I hope it comes through, with more than what you need, right? So that overflows into, I hope that came through on camera, into the saucer. The saucer is your husband or your wife, right? And he'll keep blessing you. And then the overflow from the saucer will go onto the tray, right? The tray is your children, right? And he'll keep blessing you, okay? I'm not going to keep, okay, I've run out of water here, but God never runs out of blessings. And he'll keep blessing you. And the tray will eventually fill up. And the tray is the extended family, right? So that's you. The cup is you. The saucer is your spouse, your husband or your wife. And the tray are your children. And then this being the table or the countertop, because if this fills up, it will eventually spill over onto the countertop or the table. The original thing that I saw was a table. On the table is the extended family, right? This is the aunties and the uncles and the cousins and the grannies and the grandpas and all those people, right? And then that will eventually overflow onto the floor, and the floor represents everybody else, right? Um, yeah, so that's basically what, um, yeah, when God blesses us, this is what we need to do. He'll bless us, it'll overflow to our spouse, it'll overflow from the spouse to our kids, right? Overflow from the children to the extended family, okay, which is the table. And then from the table, it overflows onto the floor, which is everybody else. Um, yeah. I hope that makes sense to you. Anyway, um, yeah, yeah. I don't think I was actually talking about that in the beginning, but in any case, that's where we landed up. Yeah, I'm a great one for chasing squirrels. Um, yeah, so that's, when God blesses us, that is how it works. Oh, I was talking about, what's this guy's name? Josh Houghton, something like it. I'll find his name and I'll put in the description below. Um, yeah. So for this reason, a man will leave his mother and father to be united with his wife. And it's the same with a wife. The wife will, a woman will leave her mom and dad to be united with her husband, right? And then they start their own family, and their priority will become their spouse and their kids. And that's how it works. And the blessing with this that I've just shown you, this, it worked. That's how it works. And yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I found that rather interesting today. And this guy's actually very good. So yeah. So once the in-laws start realizing and applying biblical principle to marriage, whether it's their own marriage or the kids' marriage, that's that you need to your whole role changes. I'm gonna see if I can try and find the link to this guy's. I don't think he's got a YouTube. Well, I don't know. He might have a YouTube channel, but I'm gonna see if I can. I'll get his name and I'll put it in, and you just Google him, and you should be able to come up with it. Anyway, um, Yeah. So yeah, and I was talking about the things that needed to be done. So the things that needed to be done are going to be finished this week. Those two things I still needed two things done. They are going to be done this week. And then yeah, in my whole then I can get onto the road. There's a few things that I need to do. I need to go scatter mom and dad's ashes. Mom wants to go up, get scattered on the west coast. Dad, he doesn't care. When we asked him, he said he really doesn't care. He's going to be dead, and he doesn't worry what we do with him. Anyway, um, yeah. So I've got to get to my friends in near Cape Town, and then I've got to go up to the west coast. And yeah, I'm planning on starting to. Doors are going to start opening. Things. There's another channel I was listening to, and this woman, what she said is, "Why are you waiting for someone else to open doors for you? Go open your own door." Right? Now, that being said, I don't just go and do things because I genuinely wait on the Lord. Because I know if I run ahead of the Lord, then I'm going to mess things up. Um, and I thought, she's actually quite right. If the Lord doesn't want me to do something, He will put a stop to it. I mean, I love praying for people, and sometimes when I'm praying, He'll stop me, and I'll try and start that prayer 3, 4 times. And I have now learned if somebody asks for prayer and I start praying over WhatsApp, and God stops me, and I can switch a thing off and delete it, and yeah. And if I got to start that prayer three times or 4 times, then after the third or fourth time, I get this thing, leave it alone. Um, just leave it alone, because then it's like I've got a prayer request to pray, because the house next to my friend's son's house was burning. So yeah, I thought, well, we've got to pray that this house doesn't burn down, and what have you, what have you. I tried praying that prayer, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times, and because it was my friend's son's house was right next to this house, I was concerned about him. And eventually, I just sent her, because the request came on a group, and I sent her a private message, and I said, I don't know what's going on here, and no, I actually answered it on the group. And I said, I don't know what's going on here, but that house that is burning, God wants that house to burn to the ground for some or other reason. And then we were told afterwards, after I'd put that on there, um, that house that was burning was actually belonged to a Sangoma. So I thought, oh, no wonder God stopped me from praying. Anyway, so we do need to listen to the Lord. Um, Sometimes we'll think it's a wonderful idea. It's like me going to speak to women, mainly women. I'll speak to men as well, but it's mainly women. Um, Sometimes he'll also put a stop to that, you know. Where I'll be talking to somebody, I'll go downtown to go buy a loaf of bread and a liter of milk, 2 liters of milk, or whatever. And I mean, it takes me less than 5 minutes to get to town. Shops are not that busy. So 10 minutes, I should be in and out of the shop quickly and back home. So that's what, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes back, 10 minutes in the shop, 20 minutes. Hmm. Yeah, I take a few hours. Why does Heidi take a few hours? Because Heidi talks to everybody. Anyway, um, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah, but sometimes God will stop us from, because I'll be looking at somebody and talking to them, and then I'll be about to say something to them, and I just get the words stop in my throat. They don't go further. And then I stop and I think, okay, Lord, you don't want me to say anything here, and probably for good reason. And yet, sometimes before I can even think, I would say something. And, if I see somebody that's wearing something really pretty, or the color really suits a person, yeah, I, I tell them, because I think, to be kind costs nothing. And yeah, I mean, I won't go say to a woman, "Oh, you got a pretty dress on and it's really ugly." I mean, that's lying. Don't do that. Anyway, so yeah, sorry guys, this thing is like all over the show, and it's now all 16 minutes of. Okay. Okay, so now you know. In laws, don't interfere with your kids' marriages, eh? Just let them be, let them sort their own thing out. And one of the things I just want to say about a marriage between a man and a woman, right? I'm not talking about a marriage between a woman and a woman or a man and a man, because that's ungodly and unbiblical, and it's actually an abomination in the Lord's face. So don't don't do that. Um, yeah, and I don't want to judge that either. So anyway, yeah, marriages between a man and a woman. You need to understand, ladies, understand something. Wives, understand something. You need to submit to your husband, right? Not somebody else's husband, your husband. Submit to your own husband, right? And appreciate your husband. When your husband makes a cup of coffee for you, or cup of tea, just say thank you, my darling. You know, be appreciative of what he does. And I'm not saying that, you know, um, my husband used to help me with a lot of things. Was my husband faithful to me? No, he wasn't. He was certainly not faithful to me. I mean, yeah, I don't even want to go down that road. But I still submitted to him, because I'd go straight to God and say, God, you gave me this husband. This is what he's doing. You know what he's doing, and you know more than what I know. And you sort it out. And I used to just leave it in God's hands. And one of the things that God promised me is that I will never know the diseases of Egypt, right? And I held on to that even after his death. I held on to that because there's, yeah, a lot of people that say go to the clinic and get some medication, and thank you. You go to the clinic, you go do your thing. Leave me alone. Um, One of the things is you will not know the diseases of Egypt. That's a promise God gave to me when my husband was being unfaithful. Because what happens is that when your husband or your wife is unfaithful, the person that you were sleeping with, your husband or your wife, um, is actually sleeping with that person as well via you, right? So, yeah. Um, so you've got to be careful, because it's sexually transmitted diseases, right? So don't be selfish, right? Don't, just rather stay faithful to your husband or your wife. Remain faithful. Don't go and mess around. Um, yeah. So yeah, uh, my husband. Ladies, submit to your husbands, even if they are unfaithful. Doesn't matter. You still got to submit to them, right? Do you agree with what they're doing, especially if they're doing wrong? You don't have to agree with it, right? But you do need to submit. And if they ask you to do something that is wrong, I mean, wrong biblically, wrong because it goes against the law of the country or whatever, then yeah, I would open up my mouth and I would speak. And I'd say, I spoke to her. I said, listen, that is out of the question. It's not going to happen. Um, yeah. Anyway, and husbands, love your wife, right? Love your wife. Appreciate your wife. Um, I once asked my husband, do you prefer me with or without makeup? Right? And he said to me, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You can wear makeup, you can go without makeup. The only thing he did ask me to do was to dye my hair. And so I said to him, well, then you buy the dye or send me to the hairdresser, you pay for it, and I'll do it. And I think I dyed my hair once or twice after my husband passed away. And then I left it alone. I thought, now I'm just leaving it. That's the only thing he did ask me to do. But when it got to um, like makeup and clothes and stuff, he didn't care what I looked like. I thought, you know, and I found that rather because I looked at him and I thought, well, don't you care what I look like? Mm, you know. Now, me personally, I like to wear makeup if I go out. If I'm going to be in public, then I like to put a little bit of makeup on. At home, I don't worry about it because I mean nobody really sees me here. Yeah, we do, I suppose we do need to do something for our parents. You know that we don't look after ourselves and what have you. Somebody asked me the other day. Um, she said to me, "Are you looking after yourself?" You know, and I had to really think about this, and I'm thinking, um, am I looking after myself? Yeah. I sleep, I eat, I bath, I shower, I tidy my house. Yeah. What more must I do? And that actually got me thinking, am I looking after myself? Anyway, so we do need to look after ourselves. Husbands, love your wife. Please compliment her. And if she asks you, do you prefer me with or without makeup? Be honest. Just be honest. Now, I do know that sometimes a person can wear way too much makeup, and that really does not do anything good for anybody. Um, and then you get some people that just apply the makeup really nice, you know, that it's not too heavy and it looks natural. Um, and wife, and the other thing is wives, you need to appreciate your husbands, right? And tell them, I really appreciate you fixing the washing machine. And well, thank you so much for fixing the washing machine. It really means a lot to me. Not always complaining. He's always on his cell phone and he doesn't care about me. He's more interested in the dogs and he's more interested in the cell phone or he's more interested in the news or whatever. Don't do that, ladies. Just be nice. Person, I was thinking of another friend of mine as well. Oh, somebody I know. You know, she's one of these people that it's her way or the highway, right? And she's like it with her husband. She's like it with her kids. She's like it with um, her friends. And I sat there one day looking at her and I thought, lady, you don't even realize that you are pushing the people away that love you. You are pushing them away. It is very difficult to love a person um, and you keep getting getting attacked. That I understand. I've seen that. And yeah, there are people that complaining about their husbands. I was at a meeting one day, and the woman sitting in front of me. Man, she was really complaining about her husband that whatever he was not doing or not doing. And I leaned forward and I said to her, and the lady sitting next to her heard me. And I said, listen here. Some of our husbands are in heaven. Appreciate yours while he is still with you. Anyway, um, yeah. Look, I don't want to go in the relationships where it's very abusive and very toxic, you know. Um, yeah, my first marriage wasn't very good. We had our good times, yes, but there were times that, um, yeah, my ex-husband hit me once, never hit me again, you know, because when he did that, I immediately remembered my own parents, my own mom, my own dad, my biological parents, and I thought, I'm not standing for this. I saw what my biological father did to my mom, and I'm not going to let my husband do that to me. Okay, so let's just leave it there. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not talking about a toxic relationship. Um, I'm not talking about those marriages because sometimes when a relationship is so toxic like that, the best thing you can do for both of you is to walk away. Um, yeah. Anyway, uh, guys, I'm waffling and I have chased I don't know how many squirrels. I've got to learn to stick with one subject. Anyway, guys, lots and lots of love. Bye.